Alright, so welcome back. So for this video, I'm going to be going over all of the birds that are in this game called Wingspan Oceania Expansion. There's a whole bunch of new birds, almost 100, not quite, but almost 100 new birds with a whole bunch of new abilities, and so I thought I'd go over them and show you how each of these work. There's very few cards in here that are very similar to each other. So more or less, most of these cards are very different, which is not the case with the original Wingspan, the core game. There was a lot of birds that had the same power. So, obviously this will probably take a few videos at least to go over all of the birds in this expansion. So, let's get started. And get nice and close as well. Okay, so for this video, we're going to start by talking about these cards here with this nice yellow coloration here on the bottom. This is for game end abilities. So if you have these in your aviary, you're not going to get anything from them during the course of the game. It won't happen. You won't get anything from these cards until the game is over. So when the game is over, then these abilities will activate at the game end, and then you'll get to do a whole bunch of things with these abilities. Some are actually really awesome, especially. So let's get started. So the first one here is the Australian Pipit. And with this one, at the end of the game, you'll tuck one bird card from the deck behind each bird in your savanna, including this one. So if you have 5, because that's the most you can have, right? If you have 5 birds in your savanna at the end of the game, then you'll get to tuck one bird card from the deck behind each bird in the savanna. So if you had 5, that's 5 bird cards. They're going to get tucked behind each of the birds in the savanna. And not only that, that basically just means you get 5 extra points at the end of the game. That's still really cool. And of course, if you don't quite have 5, it will obviously vary. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And even if somehow that's the case, and this is the only one, you're still going to get at least 1 point, one tucked bird for that. So that's really cool. Okay, so then we have I have a hard time. I'm not going to be able to pronounce all of these birds perfectly, but some type of fowl, a Malawi fowl. So with this one, you'll lay 1 egg on each of your birds with a ground nest, including this one. So that's interesting. You'll lay 1 egg on each of your birds with this kind of nest, including this at the end of the game. That means if you have ground nests in your forest, in your savanna, in your wetlands, it doesn't matter. You're going to get 1 additional egg on each of those birds, including this bird here. I had a bird that was very similar to this, and we'll talk about it later because it's going to come up. But I got 9 eggs at the end of the game. I was able to lay 9 eggs because I had that many of that particular nest. Not this particular nest, mind you. So the next one is the orange-footed scrub fowl. This one is the exact same ability almost, except, and in fact, it's even got the ground nest. It's the exact same ability. So lay 1 egg on each of your birds with a ground nest, just like with the last one. So this one exactly has the exact same ability. Cool. So there's 2 with that ability. So we don't need to go over those 2 anymore. The little pied cormorant here has the exact same ability, except instead, obviously, of a ground nest, we have a platform nest instead. So it has the same ability, it's just with a platform nest. The red-backed fairy wren. This one has the exact same ability as the last ones, but instead of those nests, it's only with the wild nests. Okay, so this one's got a wild nest too. So obviously it's just with the wild nests. Okay, here's another one. Lay 1 egg on each bird in your wetlands, including this one. So that's basically like the other one we had earlier, towards the beginning of the video, except it dealt with cards. Instead, you were tucking a card. This one, you're laying an egg, but you're getting to lay one egg on each of your birds in your wetlands, including this one. So that's kind of interesting. So if you have a lot of birds in your wetlands, this could give you maybe up to 5 eggs. So that's cool. This one, that bird was called a spotless crake, I believe. The Pacific black duck. For every 2 eggs in your wetlands, lay 1 egg on this bird. So for every 2 eggs in your wetlands. So if you have 5 birds in your wetlands, and you have 2 on each of them, for instance, that's what, 10 eggs? You'll get to lay 1 egg for every 2, so you get to lay 5 eggs on this bird. So obviously you can only do this up to the amount of eggs it can have, and since 6 is the max, if you had 12 eggs in total in your wetlands, then you'd get to lay 6 eggs on this bird at the end of game. That's pretty cool. Of course, that's as far as you're going to get to go with that, but that's powerful if you manage to do that. Okay, with this one, the splendid fairy wren, you'll lay 1 egg on each of your birds with a wingspan less than 30 centimeters, including this one. Oh, so this one was good. I liked this one. I played with this one, and this was the one that I got 9. This was the one that I got 9 eggs on birds, because I had exactly this one here. I had 9 birds that had less than 30 centimeters or had 30 centimeters. So that was a powerful end game ability. 9 eggs. That was awesome. Very cool. Okay, and then the black swan here. You'll lay 1 egg on each of your birds with a wingspan over 100 centimeters, including this one. So it's the exact opposite. The other one, it's 30 centimeters and down. This one is 100 centimeters and up, and you get to lay 1 egg on each of your birds. So the exact opposite, really. The black swan. Okay, Australian magpie. This one is obviously got more going on with this one. You'll discard 1 egg from each bird in this row and column that has an egg on it, excluding this bird. For each discarded egg, you'll cache 2 seeds from the supply on this bird. Now you're probably thinking, why do I want to discard a bunch of eggs from my birds in both the row and the column of this bird? Why? Because you're getting extra points. That's why. You may be discarding 1 egg. So let's say, for instance, let's say the Australian magpie was here, and we had birds here, 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 and here. Okay, and they each had an egg on them. And so they each had an egg on them. You would discard 1 egg from each of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 eggs. So you discard 6 eggs. Then you'd get to cache 12 seeds on the Australian magpie. That's 12 that's 12 points at the end of the game. So you lose 6, but you gain 12. So you're not only getting your points back, but you're getting twice as much. So that's powerful. So that is totally cool. That is totally a cool ability, for sure. The Australian magpie, you definitely have a cool ability. Okay, crested pigeon. Cache up to 8 seeds from your supply on this bird. So if you have a bunch of seeds at the end of the game, you'll be able to cache up to 8 of them and put it on this bird, and that's 8 extra points, obviously, at the end of the game. So you probably won't have 8 seeds, but still, it limits you, because let's say you had 50 seeds from your supply and you cached them on this bird. That's 50 points. That would be overpowered. So obviously they keep you from having too many seeds from your supply, stocking up on seeds, if you will, and keep you from doing that, obviously. to keep you from getting so many points. But if you manage to somehow have that many, then that's a lot of points. But most likely you'll probably only have a few at most. Still, that's kind of cool. Okay, the Australian Raven. Cash up to 5 food from your supply on this bird. So it doesn't matter what food it is. You'll cash up to 5 from your supply and put it on this bird at the end of the game. That's pretty cool. The Gould's Finch. Now this is a beautiful finch, isn't it? This is definitely an Australian finch, that's for sure. Play a bird. Pay its normal food and egg cost. If it has a when played or game end power, you may use it. Now you're probably thinking there's a lot of birds out there that let you play a bird after you play them. And that's true. But this is a game end ability. That means that at the end of the game, if you have a slot, a space in your aviary for another bird, and you have not only enough food to pay for that bird and enough eggs to pay for that bird, you get to play it in your aviary. That's really, really cool. There have been times where I just don't have enough actions. I would love to, fill up my aviary and get another bird in my aviary, but I'm out of action cubes, so I can't do it, obviously, right? But I have enough food to do it, and I have enough eggs to do it, but I just don't have enough action cubes because I just, I couldn't get all my action cubes. Obviously, I used them up on other stuff like food and eggs and stuff like that. But if I have this in my aviary at the end of the game, then I'll get to do that. That's really cool. But then that's not it. If it has a when played or a game end power, you may use it. So if it's one of those white cards that have a when played ability, you'll get to activate that when played ability if you want. That's powerful. And if it has a game end power, hey, that's another game end power you'll get to use at the end of the game. That's cool. So it's also not only letting you put the bird in your aviary, but it's letting you play its ability depending on what it is. Whether it be a yellow coloration like this, or one of these. Which are these white ones? So maybe one of these, for instance. And so that's powerful. I love that card. That's a good one to get if you can get it in your aviary at the end of the game. Or should I say, before the end of the game, right? All right. So, game end. And this is the gray-headed mannequin. Play a bird. Pay its normal food cost, but ignore 1 egg in its egg cost. If it has a when played or a game end power, you may use it. So it's the same exact ability almost of the last bird, but the difference is you get to ignore 1 egg in the egg cost. So if it normally at the end of the game, it will probably be a 2 egg cost, most likely, right? Well, you won't have to pay 2 eggs. You'll just have to pay 1 egg. Most likely, that will be the case. It'll be very unlikely that it'll be something that down here on this side of the board that only has 1 egg in its cost. And if it is, then that means you pay 0 eggs, if that is the case, because you get to ignore 1 egg in the egg cost. So that is awesome. And then, of course, you still get the game end power if it's one of those, or when played, obviously, you'll get that as well. So this one's actually even better than the Gould's Finch because it ignores that egg. That's really cool. So, okay, moving on. The Magpie Lark. At the end of the game, you'll discard 2 eggs from your forest. So you better have some eggs in your forest if you want to activate this game end ability. You better have at least 2 eggs in your forest to do this, okay? But then, so you'll do that, and then if you do, play 1 bird in your savanna at its normal food cost. You'll ignore its egg cost, so you don't have to worry about the egg cost, because you technically already took care of it. And then, if it has a when played or game end power, you may use it. So that's kind of interesting. It's making you discard eggs from your forest, so you can't discard eggs from here, and you can't discard eggs from here. You can only discard eggs from here, obviously. And then you're playing the bird in your savanna. So that's kind of cool. I like that. That's kind of interesting. And then, obviously, just like the last cards, when played and game end powers are still usable if you want to use them. So that's really cool. And now the last one. This one is the kakapo. Okay, that's a really cool bird, isn't it? Okay, so with this one, you'll draw 4 bonus cards. You'll keep one, and you'll discard the other 3. So basically, you'll get to look at 4 bonus cards at the end of the game. And most likely, at least one of those 4 is going to score you a ton of points, because you'll be looking at them, and you'll be deciding which one you want to keep. And obviously, you're going to keep the one that's going to give you the most points, right? So that's really cool. So it doesn't matter if you have to discard the other 3, because you're keeping the one that's going to give you the most points. So you might want to, keep an eye on what you have, so that way you know which bonus card is best for you to keep. But still, that is cool. Definitely an awesome end round, or should I say game end ability for sure. Yes, the European expansion has something similar to this. They had abilities that would work at the end of the game, or should I say not the end of the game, but the end of the round. And so since there's 4 rounds, obviously you could still use their abilities even during the 4th round, at the end of the 4th round, which was the end of the game. So, but this one is specific towards the end of the game. So if you're playing with both European and Oceania expansion, and you have blue and yellow, so game end and round end, you'll have some abilities you'll be getting to activate at the end of the game, but make sure you do the round end abilities before the game end abilities, because after all, the round end still means the game hasn't ended just yet. So that's the game end abilities. So in the next video, we'll go over the when played abilities.